Hi everyone, am I audible to all? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. In the last class, we were discussing about the string handling. We have seen some of the methods related to it. First of all, let me know if any one of you is having any doubts regarding like what we have covered so far. Okay, all right then. So now let's start with the next topic. We were discussing the methods of strings. Okay, now we have a category of methods. Okay, that will be able to modify in string. I will try to modify. And the first method related to it that falls in this category is what the substring method. As the name indicates, using this method, I can extract a substring from a given string. All right. It has the multiple overloaded version. The first can take like the begin index, okay, and like it will go from the begin index up to the last, up to the end of your string. You can also do what? You can also specify the AND index. That is also possible. In that case, the point that you should remember is what the AND index is not inclusive. It will go AND index minus one position. Oh, you see that? Let's suppose, let me open Notepad. All right. So let's say we have a string. Let's say this is just 10. All right. In the next line, let's suppose I'm saying a string s1 is equals to, or let me put it directly. You can say s dot substring, and let's suppose here I have specified 5. Okay. So what actually happen in that case? It will go to the fifth index. Okay. And what will be the fifth index here? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. At the fifth index, I will be having I. Okay. So it will start the from the I, okay, and will go up to the end of your string. So what will be the output of this? Is just a 10. All right. So like if you have not specified the second parameter, then it will go up to what? Up to the end of your existing string. And if you want, you can also specify the end like this. Let's say 5 and let's say 10. Okay, in that case, what will happen? It will start the substring from the fifth position onward and will go up to the 10. Means, as we know, like the AND index will not be inclusive, it will go up to 10 minus 1, means up to 9. So you can see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So this will be your answer in that case. Okay. H space J. Okay. So this is what we have the substring method. Anyone any doubt in this? Then let me know. Anyone any doubt? Okay. The next method we have the concat method that will look exactly the same as we have the plus sign. As I told you, for example, if I want to concatenate anything within a string, we can make use of what plus sign that we have like making use of since the starting of our course. But the replacement of this plus, okay, can be replaced by a method named concat, and that will be like work exactly the same as our plus sign. Okay, there is no difference. So here, like we can say, uh, let's suppose I'm having a string s2. First, let's say hello. In the next line, let's suppose I'm saying string S3 is equals to S plus S2. So what will be the, sorry, here we are making a concat, not the plus sign. So I can make it a what? S dot concat and what concat? S2. So what will be the answer of this? First of all, we'll be having the S string. This will be what here? And after that, it is going to concatenate what? Hello. So this will be the output of this. Or it can also be replaced by what? S plus S2. Both will exactly the same. You can write like S plus S2 or you can say S dot concat S2. Both will give you the same answer. Okay, they are just going to concatenate the two strings. All right. The third method that we are having here is the replace method. As the name indicates, using this method, we can replace some of the character or some of the substring within a string. All right. So here you can see the syntax: replace char old character that you want to replace, and the comma char new character. So it will take the two parameter. The first will be the character that you want to replace, and the second will be the character with which character you want to replace the old. All right. And it, you can see here like it will be having one more format, okay, that can have like the character sequence. And you can say here like if you want to replace a substring, that is also possible here. So let's say we have the same string, this is just a YAML, and like I'm saying here, let's say s dot replace, and here you can specify with what you want to replace. Let's suppose I want to replace I. Okay, that's why I want to replace with what, W. So in that case, what will be the answer? TH. In place of I, you will be having W S. Then again W S. That's a temp. So actually, what will happen? Whatever the occurrence of that character we are having in our string, all the occurrence of that character will be replaced by the new character. All right. So here you can see like we have the two I's. Okay, both the I has been replaced by W. Okay, so remember like every occurrence, all the occurrence will be replaced. Or what can we say here? Like if you want to have a string, that you can also specify. Like, so I want to replace age with watch. So in that case, what will be the answer? The first is you can see here what where it will find. It will find it here within the this. So what will happen? We'll be having this. In case of what is what will be having the word, okay, and that will be the answer in that case. So in that case, you can specify a character sequence and wherever like it will match that, okay, will be replaced. And here it should be in a string, not a character, like this. Okay, now this will be the answer. All right. So this is your replace function. Let me know if anyone having any doubt in this. Waiting for the doubts. If anyone of you is having any doubt. The next method here, we have something called as trim. As the name indicates, it is going to trim. What it is going to trim? It is going to trim the spaces that you can have uh, at the starting or at the ending of your string. Like for example, I have a string. Okay, let me have the same string as, and now let's suppose this is our string. So you can see there is a lot of space we have. Okay, you can see some space at the end, sorry, at the beginning, and some space at the end. And there, like you can also see the space in between also. Okay, so the trim method can only trim the space that you will be having in your string at the beginning or at the end of your string. So, like for example, if I am saying s dot trim, so what will be the output of this? The output of this will be this one. This will be the output. All right. So here what will happen is you can see like the space that you will be having at the beginning and the space that you will be having at the end will be trimmed. Okay. And one more thing to remember is what, like you can see here like we have a space in between also. It will not having any effect over that. All right. And if you want to like check it, what, how can you check it? So before applying the operation, you can calculate the length. And after performing the operation, let's suppose I'm saying string, let's say s2 is equals to s dot trim. Okay. So again, you can say like s2 dot trim, sorry, length. And you will find that like whatever the space, whatever the number of, whatever the space occupied by each empty spaces here, okay, will be trimmed. And accordingly, you will find the answer of the length. So this is something called as what? Trim method. Okay, the next two method we have two uppercase and the two lowercase. As the name indicates, these method can be used to convert a string into uppercase or lowercase. Like you can see here, like for example, this is the string, this is just a demo. All right, now let's suppose I'm saying s dot two uppercase. So what will be the answer? So here, like let's suppose we are saying s dot two uppercase. So what will be the answer in that case? The answer will be this is just a demo. Everything will be converted into uppercase. Okay. In the same way, you can also say what s dot to lower case. And in that case, this is what you are going to get. Everything will be converted into what? Into lower case. Okay, I think we are done with the string handling. And let me know now if any one of you is having any doubt in the string handling. Anyone, any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, then all right. So now let's go towards the next topic. And this is, I think, the second last topic we have in core Java. All right, the exception handling. After this, one more type of topic when we are remaining with is multi-threading. All right. So there are only two topics remaining now in the core Java. After that, we'll be covering the JDBC part, where we'll see like how can we connect our console application with the database. And finally, we'll be moving toward the advanced Java, where we'll see like how can we create the websites using the Java. All right. So now let's start with something known as what exception handling. So before handling the exception, we should know like what actually is the meaning of exception here. So what actually an exception is, you can consider it like a type of error. Okay, but here like there will be a difference between error and exception. So an exception is what is an abnormal condition that is caused by the Java runtime error in the program. Alright, like for example, we are using an array of 10 integer, like that can hold the 10 integer, and within that array, let's suppose you are trying to store 15 integer. So in that case, that is obviously is what is an abnormal condition and that will be an exception here. Okay, so such type of thing can be an exception. Like for example, you are using like integer dot parsing within the bracket you are passing hello. So you can see the hello can't be converted into integer. Again, this is an abnormal condition, or we can say like this is what? This is an exception. All right. So whenever Java runtime system encounters some exception condition, like I told you, like we are like trying to store some value in an array, okay, that like can't be stored in like for example, we are trying to store 15 values in an array that can only hold the 10 integer. In the same way, like we are trying to like convert hello into integer, okay. So in such a case, the Java runtime system will do what? Will create an object representing that exception. Okay. Like for example, in case of like we are trying to convert a hello into integer, it will throw a number format exception. So how it actually it will throw it? First of all, it will create the object of that exception by like saying new number format exception, because we know like using the new keyword we create the object. Okay. And after creating the object, it is going to throw it. Okay. That exception is then thrown by the Java runtime system. And this exception need to be caught and handled properly for the correct functioning of the program. So here what will happen? Let's suppose we have not handled that exception. So in that case, like your program will terminate there. Like over the console, you'll be getting a screen. You'll be getting an output like you got this exception and the number format exception, and your program will terminate there. Okay, this is what is happening till now. But like for a proper software, what we want, if like certain type of exception is occurring there, we need to handle. Okay. And how can we handle it? First of all, we are going to code that exception and then we can handle it. Handle means like we are going to define the second way, like if this particular thing will happen, like what we are going to do, we can define that way. Okay. So this process of like code and handling that exception is called what? Exception handling. Okay. So I think now you must be getting what actually the meaning of exception handling. Like whenever such abnormal condition will arise in your program, you are supposed to code them and handle them properly. And this process is called what? Exception handling. And like to code this to handle it properly, we are having certain keywords defined in Java. Actually, there are in total 5 keywords that we generally use here. Try, catch, throw, and finally that you can see here in the board. So we have the 5 keywords that we are supposed to learn here in this chapter. Try, catch, throw, and finally. Okay. So it includes the following steps. The program code that you want to monitor for the exception is placed within the try block. Okay, so if an exception occur in the try block, it is thrown by the Java runtime system. As we know, like if exception will occur, the Java runtime system will create the object of that exception and will throw it. Okay. So it will be like supposed to be code by using what? Like you can see here, we have the second statement, what? The catch statement. As the name indicate, using this, I can catch the exception that has been thrown by Java runtime system. Okay. So exceptions generated by the system are thrown by the runtime system automatically, like the number format exception, array index out of bound exception. And if you want to throw your own exception manually, then you can throw them using the throw keyword. This is the third one here. Like some of the exceptions will be thrown by the runtime system. Like I given you the two examples. Like we are trying to store 15 value in an array that can only store the 10 value. Or like we are trying to convert hello into integer. So in such a case, the Java runtime system will automatically create the object of the corresponding exception and will throw it. And there might be some situation where like you may be required to throw your own exception. That can also be done. And how can we do that? Using the third keyword that you can see here is what? The throw keyword. Okay. The fourth one is what? Throws. So if you want to throw the exception out of the method in which it is generated, you can throw them using the throws keyword. Like there may be some situation where like the method that may be generating the exception and you do not want to catch it there. Like the exception handling code, you do not want to like write there. Okay. So in that case, like the class or the method where you are going to call that particular method that can generate the exception. So there also you can handle it. Okay, and this option will be provided by this throws keyword. All right, so throws, look, there is a difference between throw and throws. Okay, throw is a keyword using which you can generate and throw your own exception. Using throws, a method can be having the functionality like it will be having the option to handle it somewhere else. Like if you do not want to handle it in the same method where the exception can occur. Okay, even then, like at the time of calling, you can handle it there. We'll see that. And at the last, we have the finally block. Okay, so if you want to be assured that some code will be definitely executes whether the exception occur or no, then you can place that code into finally. Okay, the name indicate finally means here like your program may generate the exception or may not generate the exception. You might be having some code that you want a guarantee that like this particular code should always execute no matter exception occur or no. All right. So such code here can be put in a block called as what? Finally. Okay. So here is an example here. Here is a general syntax. You can see first of all we are having the try block. All right. Let me show you here. So first of all we can have the try block. And what we are going to have here in the try block? The code that may generate the exception. Like for example, you are taking input from the user, you are storing some value in an array, okay, might be the code that will generate the exception. So such code that you want to monitor for the exception, okay, has to be put within the try block like this. And after, like whenever your try block will be finished, after that you are supposed to have what? Catch flow. And this is a compulsory thing. Between the try and catch, you can't have any normal statement like this. Okay, this will be an error. So remember, a try block will always be followed by catch or finally. This is also possible like try can be followed by the finally. We'll see that later. And here the catch block will be having a parameter of type of exception that can be thrown by here in the try block. Like here, like suppose we are trying to convert string into integer. So in that case, it can throw what number format exception. So number format exception is what? It is in a class here. So I can specify that. Okay, like this. And we have the lots of exception here. Okay, so this will be the case here. And this is how I'm going to quote it. Like whenever the number format exception will be thrown there, it will be thrown in here like it will be cached here. Okay, using this particular statement. You can see here it will match with the exception that we have thrown there, and accordingly we can like whatever the uh, uh, task we want to perform in that case, we can specify that within this catch block. All right. Okay, so here like we'll be having what? The first parameter will be what? The exception class. We have the lots of classes here. We'll see that. Okay, and here like the name of the object. You can have whatever the name you like. And here generally we make use of the EX, name EX, but you can have any name. And in that way, here I can have the multiple cache flow. Because you can see here, you are going to have the multiple line of code within the try block. So obviously like the try block can throw the multiple exceptions. Okay, and all are supposed to be code. So you can code them all them using the same single catch statement, using the 2 or 3 and so on. So here like you can define any number of catch statement followed by the try. And at the end, you can have what? You can have the finally flow like this. And here like whatever it is the code, no matter the exception occur here or not, the code that you are going to put here in the finally block will always execute. All right. Okay, the throw and throws we'll see later. But for now, like these will be the three main keywords that we are going to use: try, catch, and finally. And it is also possible like this try can be followed by the finally, but like it is used in a rare case. Generally, the try will be followed by the catch, where we are going to catch the exception, we are going to handle it, all right, and so on. Let me know if any one of you is having any doubt up to this point. Okay, before moving towards the example where like we actually see how we are going to use them, we should know also the class hierarchy of the exception classes. Okay, so as you can see here, at the top we have a class named throwable. So remember it like whatever the exception we'll be using there will be the child of which class? Will be the child of the throwable class. So that is the parent of all. And here you can see like throwable is having the two child, error and the exception. So error is something like in which we are not interested because like they are not supposed to be handled by the developer. Okay, so they like this is not useful in our case. The main focus here will be on what? Will be over the exception class. So if we like see specifically to the exception, so here we can also say like the exception is the parent of like whatever the type of exception we are going to have there. And you can see here the exception can be categorized into the two categories, checked exception and the unchecked exception. Okay, we'll see that later. What actually exactly it means by the checked and the unchecked. Uh, or or I think I should tell you here. So, okay, so let's start with the unchecked one. So actually, what does it mean by the unchecked exception? As the name indicates, unchecked. So these are the type of exception that your code may generate. And in such case, like if the exception occur in your code, okay, so like there you will be having a choice whether you want to handle them or no. That totally up to you. And your program will compile and will also run without any error, without any exception, until unless actually there will be an exception. If there will be exception, your code will be like obviously will be terminated there, and you will be like shown an exception in that case. So in case of unchecked, why they are called unchecked? Because here, like you will not be forced to handle them. All right. So like it will be your choice whether you want to handle them or not. Your program can compile and will also run. But in case of checked exception, if let's suppose you are writing a code and that can generate the exception, and what type of exception? Checked type of exception. So in that case, it is a compulsion to handle them. Otherwise, your code will not even compile. And that is why those type of exception is called what? Checked exception. Go there, the developer will be forced to handle them. All right. Otherwise, your program will not even compile. But in case of unchecked exception, let's suppose you are writing a code that may generate exception, but the type of exception that your code may generate is an unchecked exception. So in that case, you will not be forced. Okay. So if you want to handle them, you can handle them, but generally we should handle them. All right. So you can see like whatever the program we have seen so far, somewhere I handle the exception. Like for example, if you remember, if we have taken the input from the user using the third method, the third method was what? Using the buffer reader. Okay. And in case of buffer reader, if you remember, like it throws an IO exception. And what is the type of IO exception? IO is in a checked exception. So that need to handle. So there isn't a compulsion to handle it. And that is why like I indicate like this method can throw what IO exception. So we have written with the main method what throws IO exception. So that statement like will be required to be right there. But in other case, like you can consider the case like for example, I'm converting a string into integer. I never handle the exception. Okay, because in that case it can throw what number format exception, and that comes into a category of what? Into a category of unchecked exception. So that doesn't require to be handled. Okay. So yeah, I hope you are getting the point here. So now let's see some of the most frequently used unchecked exception here. Okay, so here you can see a class. The first of all, we have the arithmetic exception. Okay, what exactly the arithmetic exception are? Those are caused by the mathematical errors, such as what? Such as divided by 0. So remember it in case of Java. Uh, just give me a minute. All right. So the first of all, what we are having the arithmetic expression. Let me show you some example of it. Like for example, I'm having an integer a equals to 10 or 80, whatever. Okay, in the next line, I'm saying like integer b is equals to 8 divided by 0. Remember it, like if we'll try to divide something by 0 in Java, so that will not be infinity, that will be an exception. And which exception it will be? Arithmetic exception. So in such circumstances, what your Java runtime system will do, it will create the object of a class that is going to represent this exception. And what it will be? It will be the arithmetic exception. So it will create the object of arithmetic exception and will throw it. Okay. If you want to handle it, you can handle it. If you do not want to handle it, you can leave it. Okay. Because it comes in the category of what? Unchecked. Okay. That are not required to be handled. The next way will be having what? The number formatting exception that goes when like a conversion between a string and number fails. Like for example, we are saying like this integer dot parsing, as we know, like it can convert a string into what? Integer. Okay, let's suppose right now I'm having 1, 2, 3. So obviously it can be converted into integer. But let's suppose I'm having hello here. Obviously hello can't be converted into integer. So in that case, the runtime system will create an object of number format exception and will throw it. If you are handling it, so it can be handled properly. If you are not handling it, your program will terminate there with an error name of number format exception. All right. The third one we are having what? Array index out of bound exception. Okay, so that will occur in a condition like let's suppose I'm having an array like this. So new integer, and let's suppose it can hold the two element only. Okay, and here I'm saying like ARR 0 is equals to 1, ARR 1 is equals to 2, and ARR 2 is equals to 3. So you can see the array 2, okay, will not be there, okay, because it can only hold the two element. So in that case, what it will be? In that case, our runtime system will create the object of which class? array index up to bound and with thrower. Okay, so this is what we have, the array index of bound to error or exception we can say here. Next we have the null pointer exception. Okay, so when it will be caused, let's suppose I have a class like this, let's say demo. All right, and somewhere else like I have seen like the demo d1. All right, and let's suppose it also having some method public void, let's say this. Okay, and here you can see I have not created a proper object. Okay, I just specified the d1. So if right now I'm printing the value of d1, what it will be? Can anyone tell me? The value of d1 will be what here? It will be null. So here, like let's suppose in the next line I'm saying d1 dot disk. So in that case, it will throw what? It will throw the null pointer exception. Because over the null, I am trying to call the disk method. Okay, so it will not run. How it will be run properly? When I will like properly create the object like this. Now it will not be null, and now I can forward d1 dot disk. Now it will run. Okay, but in the previous case, here I have not created the object. Okay, so d1 value will be null here, and over that null I am calling the disk. Alright, so this is the case when you can have the null pointer exception. The next we have the string index out of bound exception. That will be the same as we have what, the number format exception. Alright, like we have a string there. All right, and you are performing any operation over that. Okay, that is out of bound. Like for example, the string I am having, let's say color. All right, and now let's suppose I am saying s1 dot substring. Okay, let's say 1 and let's say 30. You can see the 30th position is not available there. Okay, so it just have the 5 characters. So up to the 4 we are having the positions here. So this will be what? String index out of bound. Like you are performing any operation, okay, and you have defined an index that is not available in your string. Okay, so in that case it will throw the string index out of bound. Okay, in the same way we can have the class cast exception. Okay, when we can have the class cast exception, let me show you some case. Like let's suppose we have a class A. All right, we have a class B, we have a class C that is inheriting, let's say, class A. Okay, now in the main class, let's suppose I have created an object of A class. In the same way, new B and C also. Okay, so now let's suppose in the next line I'm saying um, B B2 equals to uh, new C. So as we know, we can do that. Okay, because you can see here the C is a child. We can create the object of child and can receive them in parent. Okay, so here let's suppose the parent is what? Parent is A, let's say. Okay, so this is what we can do. In the next line, if I want to convert into C, I can convert like this. C2 equals to, it can be converted like this. Okay, so this is the typecasting I'm doing here. Okay, so in the same way, let's suppose you are trying to do here in between A and B, because you can see like there is no relationship between A and B. And you are like, if you want to write typecast like this, so it will be an error. So let's suppose I'm saying A2 equals to, and the object of B I'm having B1. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to convert an object of B class into A. Okay, and you can see like there is no relationship between A and B, so that can't happen here. Okay, so in that case you can get what, class cast exception. However, the second last case here it can like perfectly run here. We already know that. Okay, so in such case we can have what, the class cast exception. All right. So now let's start with the first example here, very basic example we are having here. Okay. So here you can see I have A, B and I'm performing operations equals to A upon B. So here like we are dividing something, and if let's suppose the value of b will be 0, and we know like in that case it can throw what exception? Arithmetic exception. So that is why like the code that may generate the exception, I have put that code within what? Within the try block, as you can see here. And the try will be followed by the catch, where we can like catch the exception. So as you can see here, like it can throw the arithmetic exception. So I can code it here. And like accordingly, it is going to be called like whatever the type of exception we are going to specify here. So I have specified the exception here. So exactly what will happen here, if you see the diagram here, you can see like the exception is the parent of all the unchecked or checked exception. As we already know, like the object of the child can be received in the parent. Okay, so in that case, like no matter what type of exception we are having, it can be like received in the exception. All right, because we exactly know actually what will happen here in that case. We want to show it. This is what will be happening here. Is equals to new arithmetic exception. And as we have already seen from the figure, like the we can create the object of child and can receive the in parent. So this is what will happen. So here you can assure here, like no matter like it is throwing the arithmetic exception or some other exception, all will be caught here. Okay, you give the exception, and we are making use of a parameter name EF so that we can say the object here. Okay, so let's suppose if there will be an exception. So what actually we are doing here, we are setting the value of ABC to -1, and we are going to print them. And like in the next line, I'm also saying like divided by 0 arithmetic. When finally this block, like after the catch block, okay, this will be the thing that will be run here. So actually what will happen here? So first of all, this line of code will execute, then this one, up to this there will be no exception. So as soon as the third line of code will execute, so what will happen? It is like a divided by 0 condition. So at this line, the Java runtime system will create the object of arithmetic class and arithmetic exception class and will throw it. So the point here to remember is what? The line after this that you are having here within the try block will never execute. Okay. So at this third line, the runtime system is going to throw the object of the arithmetic exception. So now it will search for what? It will search for a cache block that will be able to receive that object. And here you can see the exception class can obviously can receive the arithmetic exception because it is in a parent here. So this is the cache block that is going to be executed in that case. So the value of ABC will be set to -1, there will be printed, and after that it will be printed. And finally, after catch block, this will be printed. So remember it, this line of code will not be executed. Okay, so this is how it is going to be printed. Let me know if you are having it doubt in this. This is the first example we are having here of exception handling. Anyone any doubt? All right. So if you want to run it, you can also, okay, let me also show you by running this. Just save it. Let me save it the desktop. The name will be core.java. From C, Java, okay, Java core. So we can see here what gets printed -1 -1 -1 divided by 0. All right. Look here, we also have like the way to print the exception description. Okay, for that we are having certain methods here, certain options here. That is what like we are going to see here. So first of all, what can we do is we can directly make use of the system.out.println. Okay. Let's suppose I just want to print the description. So here I can say what system.out.println, and here I can print what ex. And we already know like if we are trying to print any object, so what will happen? The toString method will run over that. Okay. And accordingly like will print it. Let's see what will happen in that case. So you can see here Java load blank load arithmetic expression divided by 3. Okay, so this is what is being printed by this line of code. Okay. Okay. What can be the other way? Yeah, we can also make it to the get message. That will show you like a very short description of your error. Okay, so right now what you are getting divided by 0. Okay, so very short description has been printed. Okay, and the last one like that will give you everything, all the details of your exception is something called as print stack trace. This is in a method available here, and we can say like this: ex dot print stack trace. Okay, let's see what will happen now. Okay, so you can see java.lang.arithmetic exception divided by 0 at call.main, okay, at line number 10. So here what it is telling us, it is also telling us the name of the class as well as the name of the method where the exception has occurred, and also the line number, at which line number the exception occurred. It is the 10 line number where the exception occurred. Okay, and also the name and class of the exception, the arithmetic exception divided by 0. Okay, the print stack trace will give you a full description of your exception. Okay, so these are the three different ways that you can use here just to print the description of your exception. Okay, all right. So now let's see the next example here. Like we can have the multiple catch. And when will we require the multiple catch flow? When like you can have the code within your try block, okay, that can throw the multiple exceptions. And like if you want to handle them separately, so obviously in that case, you need to have what the multiple catch statements there. Okay, so let's see this. This will be the last thing for today. All right. So here, just focus over the program. All right, we have the ABC three integers, and here like we are taking the value of A and B from the user as an. So in that case, first exception that can occur is what? Let's suppose the user has entered the value of A as hello. Okay. So obviously in that case, the number format exception will be thrown. All right. And let's suppose the user has entered the value of A as 10 and the value of B as 0. So in that case, in the third line, we can get what? The arithmetic exception. In the same way, like we can also have some other exception, but these are the two exceptions we can see here. So like here we need, let's suppose I need to handle them separately. Like if there will be a number format exception, I want to handle it separately. If there will be arithmetic exception, I want to handle it separately. So what will be the option in that case? You can specify the multiple cache block to cache them separately. All right. So first of all, here you can see I have specified what number format exception within the cache block. All right. So it will be able to handle like the number format exception here. Whenever like a number format exception will be thrown here by the runtime system. So the runtime system here will go to the first cache block and will check for the class. So where it will match, accordingly it will print and will set the value of ABC. Okay. And let's suppose there is an exception at third line. So what type of exception it will be? It will be the arithmetic exception. All right. So in that case, first it will go to the first statement where the class will not match. Then it will move to the next one where the class match. Okay. So this particular block of catch will execute in that case. So remember how it is going to be executed. It will check the catch block one by one, and where like the class will be matched, that particular block will be executed. And finally, let's suppose there we are considering a case. Let's suppose there can be some other type of exception. Okay, that we are not like able to figure it out for now. Okay, so such type of exception will be handled here in the exception class because we know the exception is the parent of all the checked or unchecked exception. So what no matter like what type of exception it will be surely handled here. Okay, and then we also have the finally block here. You can see, and here what we are doing is we are just printing the value of ABC. So here like we'll be getting a guarantee like no matter whether the exception occur here within the try block or not, the value of ABC will always be printed. Okay, so let's try to execute it. Okay, so enter value of A, let's suppose 10. Enter value of B, let's suppose 10. Okay, so here I have entered the normal value. So obviously there will be no exception occur in that. And you can see 10, 10, 1. This is got printed, and how it is got printed? By this finally block. So in that case, what will happen? These three line of code will run normally, and because no exception has been occurred, so all of the cache block will be skipped here. And then because we know, like no matter exception occur or not, the finally block will always execute. So it gets executed in that case, and it has printed the value of ABC that you can see here. All right, so this is the normal case. Now let's do something else. Okay, let's suppose A is 10 and let's say the B is 0. All right. So you can see what you are getting arithmetic exception, and the value of ABC is what? Minus 2, minus 2, minus 2. So in that case, actually what will happen? At the third line, the runtime system create the object of arithmetic exception and throw it. So now the runtime system will search for what? The cache, matching cache block. So it will go to the first one where the class will not match. Then it will move to the next one where the class will be matched. Okay, so here first it has printed the exception, and then it has set the value of ABC to minus 2. And other cache block will be skipped. As we know, like the finally will always execute. So after that, the finally gets executed, that print the value of ABC to minus 2, as you can see here. All right. In the same way, let's suppose I have entered the value of A as hello. Okay, so in that case, the number format exception cache block gets executed and will print the value of minus 1, minus 1, minus 1 through this finally. All right, so I hope now you are getting the point of exception handling. This is the first proper example that we are having here. Let me know if any one of you is having any doubt in this example. This is an important example here. Anyone, any doubt in this? Please let me know in the chat box. Okay, all right. So now we'll be taking a break of 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I will be uploading it on Drive. Okay, from there you can access it and you can start implementing it. I will be available in the 10 minutes.